not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And in this video here, we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about math. Now, for my long time subscribers, I did a video years ago called Black Math. And there I went into statistics, and so forth about, how many black people committing crime, how many black men are incarcerated, and things of that nature. And I was telling you how the numbers don't add up. And I stated that I was going to do a part 2 to that video. Well, here it finally, it finally has happened. I have now did my second installment of this video of Black Math. Here is, they say black people aren't good at math. And I might be inclined to believe them. Because, I see a lot of these videos, especially by black people, scrutinizing other black people. Because that's what people want. People want black people to call out other black people on YouTube, which I don't really know what good that's going to do. But, you know what I'm saying? I got videos going in on black people. I try to have balance. I may wake up. I got videos putting, white people in the hot seat, black people in the hot seat, and so forth. I'm trying to bring balance back because that's what the game is missing. But we constantly hear this term with black people. Well, it's not all, but the majority of you. The majority. It's not all, but the majority. And if you're not who I'm talking about, then you're in the minority. Well, let's see what the numbers say. Let's have real hardcore data that has been collected, that has been written down, and so forth. Rather than going and just being hyperbolic and saying, oh, well, it's the majority, it's not. Let's go into numbers, because that's what this is about. Now, in this video, bear in mind, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I got all my numbers, stats or whatever. These are the white man stats. I know you guys, think highly of white people. Now, white people are the greatest members of the primate family to walk on two legs and to have opposable thumbs. So therefore, even going by the white man's database, because I seriously doubt black people actually going out and doing a consensus on, how many of their own people are locked up and committing crime and so forth. That even going by the white man's data, that it's not all. It's not even high. Is it a high percentage? Yeah. Are our numbers miserable compared to white people? Of course. Now, this video isn't about me, giving, stroking black people's ego and so forth, or saying the white man is the devil. No, this is just to point out that, hey, it's not all. We're still doing bad compared to white people, but it's not all. It's not even half. Okay, let's go into it. Now, out of wedlock babies. Now, in this category, I would say the majority of black people are definitely born out of wedlock. I looked up everything. All the data I collected. It all says 72% of black babies are born out of wedlock. That's where I can say, okay, the majority of you blacks. Now, this doesn't mean that there is no father in the life. That the father don't help them raise. It gives you this image of 72% of black women are single, or just, 72% of the black households are just a single black mother and a bunch of babies kids. No, black men, it's already been debunked. Black men are very active in their children's lives. And also there's data showing that only 35 to 40% of black women remain unwed. Yes, that is a high number. It's not very good, but it's not all. It's not the majority. They're still in the minority. But this doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, there's a man completely absent. Just because you're born out of wedlock don't mean, it just means that your parents could still be together. They just haven't eloped or whatever. And then some may say that, you know, what is marriage anyway? All it is some sort of formal contract or some sort of bond that they have. Doesn't mean that they love each other and so forth. But looking at the stats, now 30% of white people are born out of wedlock. Now, it's a lot better than blacks, than the black numbers. But, you know, 30% is that's still not good. That's nothing to brag about. You don't go around saying, well, you know, 30, you know what I'm saying, only 30% of white people are born out of wedlock. And actually that number is rising. I think marriage is dissolving in this country altogether. You know, less and less people are getting married. It's just how it is. You know, and now let's look at the poverty rate amongst black people. Now you figure, well, if 72 children are born out of wedlock, then the poverty rate has to be astronomical, because most of these people born out of wedlock are born into welfare and the projects. What is the poverty rate among black people? Well, the poverty rate on a national scale is 26%. 26% of black people are born below the poverty line. You know, and that's not, now in your Pacific City, it's different. You know, it may be different. It may, like, I know Chicago, it's like 40%. South side of Chicago, some places like South Philadelphia is 60%. But I'm talking about on a national scale. National polls of black people in this country, it's 26%. Now, is that high? Yes. It's still double that of white people. You know, but as I said, we're being, you know, white people are the most powerful and most privileged people on earth, and we get directly compared to them, you know, so it's kind of not fair. But still, 20% is not half. It's still a minority. The majority of black people live above the poverty line. Now, bear in mind, the poverty line, I think, is like $16,000 a year or $22,000 a year, anything below that, I don't know. But I understand that, yeah, you can make $35,000 a year and still be struggling, especially if you got kids and so forth. So I mean, that doesn't really mean nothing. But still, just going by the consensus, only 26% of black people are below. Oh, and I remember I told Painless Risen this. You know, I think that I said 27%, and he said my numbers were all off. So therefore, we have to say that black people, poor black people, are a minority. You know, in this country. Now, as far as black people, the graduation rate. You know, what is the percentile of high school dropouts in the black community and so forth? Going by some data that I've read that was taken in 2015 by USA Today, black people are closing in on the gap, closing the gap between the graduation rate of blacks and whites. Now, with black people, it's like 74%. White people, it's 86%. You know, but black people are steady. Our graduation numbers are increasing. You know, we're closing the gap. You know, we're closing the gap. But so therefore, it's safe to say that the majority of black people are graduating from high school. Now, you know, you probably say, well, King from Menace Society is graduated from high school. That doesn't mean anything. You can Now you can say that doesn't mean anything. You can say that, well, just because you graduate from high school don't mean you're gonna, be a productive citizen and so forth. And also the graduation stats of black women are much higher than black men. Well, not much higher, but higher than black men, and so forth. I think it's like black women got an I think an 82% graduation rate. Black men is like 74 to 76%. White people 86%. Asians, because Asians are supposedly so smart, 88%. And so forth. But still, we have to say the majority of black people are at least making it out of high school, for what it's worth. Okay, and let's go into the welfare, participating, sucking up government subsidies. They say that black people are 41% more likely to, to participate, in the welfare program or government handouts. But only 26%, is regularly on it. So 41% more likely, which that's kind of an odd, because you're 41% more likely, but only 26% of black people actually get government subsidies, 26 to 27%. And that coincides with the poverty rate amongst black people, 26 to 27%. Now, going into my marriage stats about black women getting married, just because a black female remains single, it doesn't mean that, she's going to have kids and her kids are going to grow up to be thugs or whatever. A lot of single black women, educated black women, they, don't have kids, at all. So, when we think of the term single black woman, we just, alarms go up saying, oh, there's danger here. Yeah, no, there's going to be a whole lot of murders and body hit the floor. Neighborhoods are going to deteriorate. No. And I also think about black people's population. 13% of the U.S. population are black people. 13%. So what is the big hubbub about black people? We got no power. They got the prison for us, they can easily put us away and things of that nature. I think about the population of black people, and I think about homeless people. Homeless people are usually a minority in a city, unless you live in San Francisco. But homeless people don't have any power. Now, some people feel sorry for homeless people. Some people consider them a nuisance. Some people just consider them lazy, like they need to get a job like everybody else did instead of begging for change. But when people go home at nighttime, you don't think about homeless people. You don't sit around your house and constantly, worry about what are homeless people doing and so forth. And and taking care of the homeless people, it takes tax money. So, why are people so worried about black people who don't have any power? That's this minority. It's like me going home really just kind of, if I'm a white guy, it's like me worrying about, oh, those damn homeless people. Somebody needs to really get them and set them straight and so forth. And that's the thing. So now we're going to go into crime, because that's what everybody, because single black mothers, the high school dropout rate, the rate of unemployment, and also the rate of unemployment for black men is, I couldn't even find the rate of unemployment for black women because it's probably low, and that's why they didn't even want to record it. For black men, it's like 17%. Now, bear in mind, in your city, it may be different. But we're talking about a national poll, 17%, which is high, but dealing with the circumstances, some black men can't get jobs or things of that nature, but we still have to say the majority of black men have jobs. So I told you, this is my video here, I'm defending the majority. I understand that there's a high or this disproportionate number of black people committing crime who is unemployed, but I'm talking about them because we don't hear that. You know, we always hear that the majority of black people are fucked up. So the majority of black men have jobs, you know, so let's get that straight. But I understand, just because you have a job doesn't mean you won't get involved in illegal activity. I understand there's dudes out there that work at Kentucky Fried Chicken that sell drugs out the back door. But now let's go into crime. You know, I don't want to jump all over the place because I gotta remember. I don't write nothing down. I gotta remember it. And we're gonna go into shoot 'em up, bang bang. The rate of black on black crime, because that's the hot button topic. Because the whole Black Lives Matter and people saying, well, black people kill more black people than, you know, and blah blah blah. So what do you think is the rate of black victims of homicide or murder? You know, people say homicide and murder is two different things, but let's not split hairs. So what do you think is the death toll, the body count? You know, bear in mind there's 45 million black people, you know, in America. So, and you know, they say there's an ongoing genocide. So what do you think it is? You think it's 1 million? Is it 300,000? Is it 100,000? Or is it 10 to 12,000? Well, if you said 10 to 12,000, you're absolutely right. Now, going by, you know what I'm saying, the data, 91% of black people are murdered by other black people. You know, now, you know, they end up with that toe tag or, you know, go before their time. So I'm going to take that in consideration for the sake of the argument. 10, you know, I thought that number would be a lot higher. That number shocked me. It's still high. It's still demoralizing. But 10 to 12,000 black people, because you constantly hear about murders on the news, shoot 'em up, bang bang, the rap songs or whatnot, the image of the black thug, and there's 45 million black people, you know, and you know what I'm saying, majority of these are black men that are, you know what I'm saying, getting laid out on the concrete. There are some black women too, and there's 22 black men, so it's bad. To put it in another perspective on it, 19.2 black men out of 100,000, or black people out of 100,000, are, you know, victims of homicide and murder and so forth. You know, 4 white people out of 100,000 are victims of, you know what I'm saying, homicides. Yeah, black people, that's an outrageous number, you know, especially when, you know what I'm saying, we represent 13% of the population. White people represent 65% of the population. But I still, 19 out of 100,000, I still expected that number to be a whole lot higher. You know, we know that, you know, there's times when white people kill blacks, or, you know what I'm saying, there's crimes out of passion, because somebody, you know, had nothing to do, it's not gang related, had nothing to do with the streets. Female dude cheats on his girl and she shoots him or whatever. But still, you know, more black people die from vehicular accidents than, you know, gunshots. You know, more black people, the majority, the biggest killer of black people is heart disease and a stroke. So therefore, if Black Lives Matter, you know, put down that malt liquor and that box of fried chicken. You know, but I thought that number shocked me. I thought it would be a lot higher. It's still bad. I'm not saying it's still. So therefore, the black people that are willing to kill other black people are an extremely small minority. Now this is why, now I feel the number will be a lot smaller if people start snitching. Now this is why I'm for snitching. I stated this before. I'm all for snitching. Yeah, you know, because I know that you can have one killer that can kill multiple people, and it makes it seem like there's just more killers out there. Now, and we do know that black men, there are black men, they get more time for possession of cocaine than murder. We're seeing black dudes that went to jail for murder, you know, and back out on the streets in fucking 5 years. I'm like, that's nuts. And also you gotta figure, you know, they don't count count attempted murder, and we know that a lot of these degenerates have poor aim. If they had better aim, then the body count would be a little bit, higher than what it is. Also, you have to realize that homicides only make up 4% of the, of the crime reported a year. 4%. 20%, 30% of all the crimes reported are rape. So we got. Let's put that. Also put that in perspective. Also, there is, as FBI data, there's about approximately, taken in 2014, 1.4 million gang members on the street. 1.4, and this is all gangs, blacks, whites, Latinos. But let's say out of all 1.4 million of the gang members that are destroying the neighborhoods, let's say all of them was black. A million black gang members out there. That still wouldn't represent all the population. That still will represent, figuring there's 45 million black people. Black men are more likely to be involved in gangs. That'll still be a minority. But white biker gangs, their membership is on the rise. And figure that with all the black gang members out there, that only a minority of the black gangbangers are actually murdering people. If the death rate of black people don't match up with as many black people there are in gangs. You see what I mean? So it's things to take in consideration. I'm not saying that these are good numbers. They're not good numbers at all. But it shows you that it's not the majority of black people. Now, as far as black people, the ones who are acting wretched or ghetto, there's no way to record that or put that down and say, this is how many black people are wretched compared to black people who are not. I'm like, this is a free country. People got freedom of expression. I'm not, and I'm just going by, hardcore facts or whatever. I'm trying to leave my own bias and personal opinion out of it. But the thing is, with us black people, us goody two shoes, us do-gooders, and the people that they claim that, you guys are in the minority. When actually we are in the majority. We don't say nothing. We're cowards. We don't say nothing when we see this shit on the streets. If you was in the supermarket and you see some black female, seem like she's tugging 4 kids, she got a hair full of weave or whatever, and she's using the EPD card, and your EBT card, you said, hey, she's part of the problem or whatever, are you going to say something to them? I'm saying, are you going to say something to the drug dealers we're going to see them or whatnot? A lot of, in the black community, a lot of black people, they just don't see nothing, don't tell nothing. They just keep to themselves. That's the best way to stay safe. And then we want to get on YouTube or on social media and then be vocal about it. But in real life, we're cowards, when it comes to the situation. That's all I want to say. Thanks for watching. Never stop learning.